It's another Raw video from your favorite YouTube scout, Draft Raw Authentic. And finally, I am here making another video. And like I said, it's a Raw one, so there will be no edits. And today, we're going to talk about the top tight ends in the 2019 NFL Draft. Now, with that being said, let's just get started with TJ Hockenson and Noah Fant. TJ Hockenson, a very all-around tight end. With the blocking, the catching, all of that type of stuff. But the thing about TJ is that I question him as a route runner. I didn't see him run many routes in the Iowa system. So I question that just a little bit, how good of a route runner he is. It's the same thing that actually go with Noah Fant. Noah Fant, who is a receiving type of tight end, who has all the athleticism in the world, also with the route running. And with that being said, I think it was Iowa's system that didn't pretty much give them the route running that, you will want to see on tape. You saw some things with their routes. You can see them plant their foot and stuff like that. But the question that I have with their route running, like I said, one, it wasn't too much of a variety. But two, I didn't see them putting any little nuances in their route run, in their route runs. I didn't see them putting any nuances in them running their routes. In terms of, not to say that you have to shake a guy at the line or shake a guy when you get close to him or stuff like that, but you want to kind of see a little bit of a head fake and then cut back inside, or head fake and cut back outside. You want to see that a little bit. And the problem with me not seeing that kind of make me question, how good of a route runners are they? But both guys are definitely good players. Overall, I think Noah Fant definitely has the chance to be the better tight end between the two. And not to say I don't think Hockenson will be a good tight end. But, you got to question it a little bit with the route running and stuff. Even though he has everything else, it's just more of who's going to be more explosive. Who would you want? If you were the viewer looking at these tight ends, would you want Travis Kelce? Would you want Zach Ertz? Or would you want Dennis Pitta? Think about it. Look at their stats and then look at Dennis Pitta's stats. Just something to think about. Just saying. So anyway, the next person on my list is Irv Smith Jr. All around also. And his biggest problem to me, and it's going to be a big problem for him going into the NFL, is I don't think he creates a lot of separation with his route running. Another route running situation. And you may say, well, what are you talking about, Draft Raw Authentic? Well, when someone is actually literally covering him, when it's not like a zone coverage, when it's a man-to-man coverage, he doesn't create separation. If you really look at the tape, you'll see what I'm talking about. And I think that's going to be a problem for him in the NFL. Now, he's going to have to be a guy that's going to have to make those tough catches if that's the case with him, which doesn't bode well for a guy like him, because even though he's an all-around tight end and you see him blocking, I don't see no aggressiveness in it. And if you're not an aggressive blocker, you're not going to be an aggressive catcher. It kind of coincides with each other. And not to say that it coincides all the way, because you have some really, really good catchers, in the NFL, whether receiver or tight end, and they're not really good blockers. But for him to be such a good blocker, but not an aggressive blocker, for him to have solid hands, but not great hands, for him to be an okay route runner and not a pretty darn good route runner or great route runner, it's going to say a lot about him as a player. And remember this, not every tight end, not every player is going to be that great. So I could be wrong with saying this about him, but I don't think he's going to be as good as advertised of what they're trying to say. Not every Alabama player is going to be a good player. And a lot of times guys get pushed up from certain college teams and stuff like that because of previous history of like, okay, O.J. Howard came out of here, and he was one of the best tight ends in his draft class. So Irv Smith Jr. has to be one of the best in his, and it doesn't work like that. He reminds me a little bit of O.J. Howard. He just doesn't have the speed that O.J. had or the separation skills that O.J. had. Now, going over to another person, Josh Oliver. I think from San Diego State. I forgot what school he played for. It doesn't really matter. I thought he was trash. I'm be honest with you. He was trash. I thought he was very athletic. I give him credit for that, but I thought he was a soft football player, especially when you're playing in a when you're playing on when you're playing in a division where you have a bunch of small schools. And not to say small school guys are not that great, but there's a reason why a good portion of them are not in the big schools. And that's what I'm saying. It's a good portion. I'm not saying there's a reason why a good portion of them is not in the big schools, because they're just not that great. And he didn't show, if you don't dominate on that type of level, how you going to dominate in the NFL? That's just simple as that. It is what it is. Another guy on the list is Georgia's Isaac Nuada. I'm not going in order here, just to put that out there. I'm not going in order like, this is the best tight end and this is the worst. I'm going in a way of let me get the guys that I didn't like out of the way, and then let me talk about the good ones. Isaac Nuada, he's a nice blocker, especially in the open field. He has okay hands, but it was nothing really special that I saw about him. And then the combine, him running at 4.93. I don't put too much stock in combines, but that 4.9 is not great. Yeah, that is very, very bad. If he ran like a 4.7 something, then it's like, okay, I still don't like you, but you show something. But a 4.9, no, heck no, I can't do that. 40 times are important in certain situations. When if a guy is a baller and he runs a slow 40, that's okay. If he's not a baller and he runs a slow 40, it's not okay, obviously, because it's just like, well, there's nothing else to really work with when it comes to you. Simple as that. I could be wrong about these guys, and I didn't say Hockenson and Fant was going to be trash or anything. The next three guys I had talked about after those two, those are the ones I wasn't really impressed with, so it is what it is. Now, next on the list is going to be guys that... Actually, hold on, I got one more. Alize Mack from Notre Dame. I think the Notre Dame offense limited his athleticism, so I felt like I didn't see much from him. I felt like he was a guy that could be a really good tight end, but the problem is that the way that the Notre Dame offense is, it didn't heighten his athleticism, didn't give him anything. It just kind of, he was just out there, and I just felt as though they didn't really accentuate anything that he did good. So that is what it is. So now getting to the guys that I do like. One guy that I do think will be the best tight end in this draft class is Jay Sternberger. And that's because he's an all-around tight end. He can block. He plays with toughness. His yak is one of his biggest traits that I really, really love. He has great speed and he has good hands. I mean, his toughness is bar none. It's second to none to a lot of tight ends in this draft class. For how fast he is, how athletic he is, and everything, he's, to me, a more physical, more stronger, more tougher version of a Mark Andrews, who played for the Baltimore Ravens this rookie year. It's probably the best tight end in their rookie season for the last year, for the rookie season. He reminds me of him a little bit, but the thing that Jace has better than him is that he's a blocker and that he is tougher. The great speed and the good hands is just like Mark Andrews, but I think it's just the way he moves reminds me of Mark Andrews, which is actually a good thing, because at one point I did think Mark Andrews was the best tight end of his draft class. So the simple fact is that I can see a guy like Jay Sternberger and I see him have a little bit more. It just pushes him up there as the best tight end for me. Next on the list is Kaden Smith from Stanford. He's a seams tight end. Reminds me of Hayden Hurst. I know I'm naming a bunch of Baltimore Ravens tight ends. Yes, I am a Baltimore Ravens fan. It is what it is. But that's actually, to me, is a very great comparison, is a Hayden Hurst. Because I thought Hayden was the best seams tight end. A guy that he just, for whatever reason, he always got open down the seam. To me, that's Kaden Smith. He's a willing blocker. He's not a great blocker, but he's a willing guy. He has nice speed, and he has good body position on catches, and he is tough as well. I've seen him use some of his toughness to get those extra yardage to try to get the first down and stuff like that. He's not a big yak type of guy, but he is a guy that's going to lower his shoulder and try to get the ball, try to get the first down or a touchdown, whatever it is. And that's what I really, really love about a guy like Hayden Smith. To me, at one point he was the best tight end. But then when I saw Jay Sternberger and I saw that he was a pretty darn good blocker, better than Kaden Smith, I had to give it to Jace. Next on my list is Kahale Warring. He's a good blocker. Really, really love him as a blocker. Solid route runner. Great strong hands. I think he played at Arizona or New Mexico State. New Mexico State. The guy, like I said, great blocker. So you got some things that you can work with when it comes to him. He kind of reminds me a little bit of like a Kyle Rudolph, I guess you could say. Where he's not overly fast or anything, but he kind of gets the job done. He's kind of all around tight end. He's able to get the job done, and he's able to do what he needs to do to be able to basically be able to win his matchups and stuff like that. I'm sorry, I paused for a second. Something came over my little timeline phone of Montez Sweat. So I don't know. Whatever. It is a tight ends video. But anyway, it is what it is. I had to read that for a second. But anyway, that's what I think about Kahale Warring. Next on my list is going to be Keenan Brown. I was surprised when I saw Keenan. Keenan really surprised me a whole bunch. He has solid hands and speed. He's a very hard to tackle. And he's a big play guy, and he's very, very tough. His toughness being very, very hard to tackle, literally guys be bouncing off of him. And he's a guy that played at Oklahoma State, decided to transfer to Texas State, and to me, dominated. And that's what I talk about when I looked at Josh Oliver. Keenan Brown dominated. Josh Oliver doesn't. Josh Oliver didn't. And, okay, so the reason I said Montez Sweat wants to not going to the draft. He's going to spend time at home. That's all that happened. Sorry, I keep pausing. It just keep popping up. But anyway, he's like I say, he's really, really, and he's a really, really hard to tackle, and he's a big play guy. That is a huge thing for him. For me, when it comes to him, a lot of the guys that I like a lot make a lot of big plays. And like I said, he dominated his competition, and that's what will really put him over the edge. And honestly, he may actually turn out to be the best tight end in his draft class, or at least maybe the second best tight end when it comes right behind Jay Sternberger. He's a willing blocker as well. He's not going to be a great blocker, but I really, really love that toughness, his receiving ability is that strong for him. That's what I love about it. Excuse me. And last but not least, excuse me. Sorry. Last but not least, we're going to talk about Caleb Wilson. Caleb Wilson from UCLA is a guy that I thought should have came out last year. And if he would have, Caleb Wilson, to me, would have been the best tight end. I know he wasn't like a greatest blocker in the world or anything like that, but his receiving ability was better than any tight end in that draft class. And it stands true for this year. And actually, you know what? I'm going to put up something right now. If you just seen that, what that was a picture that showed Caleb Wilson being considered one of the top tight ends in productivity. I'm sorry, I forgot the title of that group, but he was him. And you see like Zach Ertz's name, and you see like Mark Andrews' name and stuff like that up there. They were definitely the best of the best, and with his name being put up there with those other two guys, with those other four guys that are up there, it says a lot. So it's to me, and I got the paper right here. I'm sorry. And TJ Hockenson was the other guy. To me, his name being put up there with Evan Ingram, Mark Andrews, and Zach Ertz, and TJ Hockenson, it says that he was a way better player than what his draft status is telling you. And like I said, I really liked him last year, thought he was coming out last year, but he had an ACL injury, so he had to wait, and he decided to come out this year. But this guy, he's going to be the underrated guy of this draft class, just like a Keenan Brown. And even though I said Jay Sternberger, and I like Kaden Smith, and I like the Keenan Brown, Caleb Wilson has the most upside of all of these tight ends because of his natural receiving ability. Anyway, that was the last person I wanted to talk about with the top tight ends. I thank anybody for watching. Once again, this is Draft for Authentic. Goodbye.